Father in heaven, be with us throughout this midday power surge is our prayer in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Greetings, salutations to Safe to Serve International and first-time viewers. Welcome to this midday power surge. This is your spiritual oasis on this pilgrim journey. I'm your host, Andrew Henriquez, on this Thursday, November 16th. Welcome one, welcome all to this midday power surge. Things are happening rapidly all around us, fulfilling end-time Bible prophecies. And today I'm going to be addressing the following. Number one, the time is right upon us when God's commandment-keeping people and those who are following the leading of His Holy Spirit, they're going to be blacklisted. They're going to be jailed for using cash when the cashless society is fully implemented. And that time is not far distant. Global CBDC is actually going to replace cash. One day, very, very soon, cash is going to fail. Money is going to fail. So what then is the work of preparation? In connection with being converted, following God's principles in the Bible, we must be prepared to use the bartering system. I'm going to be addressing these. Let's get right into it, my friends. As you can see, I've been saying for the past 2 days in our mini series that if we understand the prophecies in the Word of God, the end goal, we can better comprehend the current events because they are fulfilling end-time prophecies. Nothing happens by accident. It's all in the providential plan of God. And what is God's end goal? To make us free. John chapter 8 and verse 36. To make us free from sin. Romans chapter 6 and verse 18. To set us free from Babylon, Revelation chapter 18 and verse 4. But contrarily, what is Satan's end goal? Satan's end goal is to make us slaves, as we can see clearly in Isaiah chapter 14, verse 12 through verse 17. I covered this. He wants to make us prisoners, to make us slaves, to treat us as if we no longer have religious and civil liberties. And how is the devil and his human agents going to do this? By using principally popery from behind the scenes. The Bible tells us popery is the backbone of slavery. She controls the presidents, prime ministers, the chancellors, the princes, the merchants of the earth. And today I'm going to be focusing on the money of the beast. If you missed yesterday's midday power surge, one principal golden theme we covered was motor vehicle of the beast. Motor vehicle of the beast, all MOB, as you can see. One tentacle of the 8 tentacles of Mother Beast, motor vehicle of the beast. Today, money of the beast. Revelation chapter 18, verse 2 and verse 3. Babylon makes the merchants rich. That's popery. And the Bible goes on to say that Babylon with the merchants will enslave, it's right there, last phrase, enslave the masses. And brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, when you connect those two scriptures I aforementioned with Daniel chapter 11, verse 43, you'll see the big picture. Popery's agenda is to control the gold. He'll have power over the gold, the silver, and all the precious things, then to enslave the masses. You need to understand this. Those in the world do not know who is behind the scenes. Yes, the great puppet master, money of the beast system. Popery is the one that dictates to the World Bank. Don't forget that, it's right there. Dictates to the IMF. The IMF. It's going to be one of our themes today. There it is, friends. And once he dictated to the IMF, what did they now launch? Digital Public Infrastructure, DPI, a digital-only society. That's it right there. Digital ID, CBDCs, making a digital society. With that in mind, oh, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, there it is. 50 in 5 years, a digital-only society, 50 nations. And the countdown is to the year 2030. 2028 to 2030. This is the Pope's new economic order, which is akin to the New World Order, which is the mark of the beast. That is going to be the end goal as it morphs into the mark of the beast system. Note this, friends, and don't you forget it. All right? And here she is now, the managing director of the IMF. When she was making a statement at the Vatican, she actually referenced and quoted the words of Pope Francis, stating the Pope's agenda, the Pope's policies is what she is using at the IMF. Brothers and sisters, why is it that people can't see this? Whatever we say, we give the receipts. We give you proof. It's not conjecturing. And what you need to understand, in the Bible, you can see an ancient character, which is the type of popery today. And that character was Judas Iscariot in John chapter 12, verse 4 through verse 6. Judas publicly stated, oh, he loved the poor. We must care for the poor financially. But what did Jesus say in John 12, verse 4 through verse 6? Judas was a thief. He carried the bag. And what is the IMF leader saying? Oh, the Pope is saying his policies are for the poor. We want financial inclusion and economy for the people, for the poor. They're thieves based on end-time prophecy. And just as Christ called Judas the son of perdition in John 17, yes, and verse John 17, Christ also called popery the man of sin, the son of perdition, in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3 and verse 4. Listen to this. A few moments ago, the IMF director stated that global CBDCs will replace cash. Look at that, my friends. November 15th, that was yesterday. Will replace cash. I'm going to share with you their hypocrisy. And previously, this came out in England, the Bank of England, the central bank. What was the report? That they are going to roll out digital currency to take the place of cash. IMF managing secretary, this is not the time to turn back. Deploy, implement global CBDCs. Allow me right now to expose their hypocrisy. The IMF director, CBDC, will take the place of cash globally. Listen now to the actual president of the European Central Bank, all of the nations that comprise the European Union. She said, cash is here to stay. Who should we believe? By the way, the IMF oversees the European Union financially. Listen to this.
The digital euro is on the move. Yesterday, the Governing Council of the ECB approved the opening of the preparation phase. It will be a journey, and we will walk the journey together with the legislator. All European institutions will be involved to make sure that Europe is equipped with the currency of the future.
Listen now.
Cash is here to stay. You will have all options, cash and digital cash.
Do you believe that? Clip 2, hear what she says now.
No, the problem is they don't want to be controlled. They don't want to.
Yeah, but you know what? Now we have in Europe this threshold above 1,000 euros, you cannot pay cash. If you do, you are on the grey market. You take your risk. You get caught, you are fined, or you go in jail. But the
What's the gray market? The gray market is going to morph into the black market. Blacklisted, you go to jail. It's coming. All right, friends? They will create the situation, the actual environment we're in. If you use cash, you go to jail. Blacklisted.
threshold above 1,000 euros, you cannot pay cash. If you do, you are on the grey market. You take your risk. You get caught, you are fined, or you go in jail. But the digital euro is going to have a limited amount of control.
Control? Hold on there. And what is happening? They're telling us there's going to be not only surveillance, but you won't be able to buy or sell without their dictation. It's slavery, economic slavery. This is the president of the European Union, EC Bank. And notice, what is the EU about to roll out? The CBDC and digital ID. What is coming to the EU? So how should we understand the words and policies from Andrew Holness, the Prime Minister of Jamaica, the champion boy for the UN? Yes, the WEF, the WHO, and by extension, the champion boy of popery. Hear what he says. Implementing the money of the beast system and the monitoring of the beast system.
In the coming weeks and days, I'll be making certain announcements regarding the acceleration of Jamaica's intention to become a fully digital society. We are well on our way to this. We have established the national identification system. We have put in place our digital currency. We have given directions to our ministries to digitalize their operations. Most of our ministries are now moving from paper-based systems to digital systems. Our military is transitioning.
Enough. And now, when we began to protest against the system of the beast, hear what he said next after this statement. We are not going to remove cash, he said. Listen.
There is no attempt.
Angrily. Yes, he was livid.
There is no attempt by the government to remove cash, meaning paper money, from the system.
Mr. Holness said he's actually worried that Jamaicans would interpret the information in that manner.
Just stop for one moment. Just be rational. Why would the government spend billions of dollars to change currency to a new, durable banknote that we don't have to be changing it ever so often, only to turn around and take it out of the system? Don't you see it is stupidness?
Oh, my friends. But remember, Jamaica is actually under bondage financially because these merchants come into Jamaica and give them loans and buy up their industries, and Jamaica has to repay with interest, and they can't. So whatever the merchants say, Jamaica has to do. Proverbs 22 and verse 7 says the Bible is clear that the lender, flip that, the borrower is servant to the lender. There it is, friends. All right. And now, just as it was with the pestilence 19 crisis, they create the crises, even if they should say, oh, it's voluntary, it's not mandatory. But when they create the environment and make sure the only way you can access these services is by receiving the prick, by receiving the digital ID or CBDC, then by implication, it becomes compulsory. Don't let them deceive you. And here is the IMF managing director stating recently, a few hours ago, the nations deploying CBDC is moving rapidly. It's full steam ahead. Here is the receipt.
And growing number of countries are steaming ahead with development and deployment of central bank digital currencies. And while crypto assets, including stablecoins, have had their ups and downs, they're not going away. The international payments system needs to be improved. We need to make it cheaper, quicker, and easier.
Whoa, she's even speaking fast, steaming ahead. Just as she said, the DPI, the CBDC, and the digital ID must be interoperable. What does that mean? Global. Listen. And that's why it is clear the words from the Prime Minister of Jamaica and Your Holiness, or if another one becomes Prime Minister, it doesn't matter. What is enacted in Jamaica must fall under the global system, not national, fragmented. It must be a one currency order, just as there is a one world order, a one financial economic system.
My second point is that if we are to be successful, CBDCs could not be fragmented national propositions.
No.
To have transactions more efficient and fairer, we need systems that connect countries. In other words, we need interoperability.
Okay. I'll give you a second clip. Listen to this.
The CBDC, or the central bank digital currency, is all set to go global thanks to the International Monetary Fund, which is working on a global platform for CBDC transactions. The IMF wants countries to agree on a common framework for digital currencies for two main reasons here. A common law will help in easy transaction of CBDCs around the world. A global framework will keep a check on unregulated cryptocurrencies. Speaking at a banking conference, IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva said that CBDCs could help promote financial inclusion across the world. She said, I'm quoting here, if countries develop CBDCs only for domestic deployment, we are underutilizing their capacity. For this reason, IMF is working on the concept of a global CBDC platform.
There it is. There it is, friends. It cannot be national. It must be global. And what prophecy is being fulfilled? Daniel chapter 2, verse 40 to verse 44. The stone is about to descend. 10 toes, separate, fragmented, but no, it must be one. They're mingling themselves together. That's the iron in the feet, which represents popery. Friends, a one world government, a one world economic structure, and then a one world religion. And from that, a one world day of worship on Sunday. And those who dissent must be persecuted and treated as pariahs. IMF director went on to say, over 100 countries are now exploring CBDCs. Yes, friends. Yes. Notice. And they want this to be enacted by 2030. This is the WEF. Look at the words in the red box. Advancing cashless societies, focusing on reducing cash use. And Your Holiness is living in a dream, my friends. And the other nations like the Bahamas living in a dream. And Trinidad and Tobago, deceived. It's going to be global. Nigeria, deceived. It's going to be global. And I could name the others. Move on from that. There it is. Even the UN is calling for a global CBDC by 2030. Number one, the first goal, digital IDs linked to your bank account. CBDCs, my friends. You can access these things. And they're telling us it's going to be embedded in our bodies. The words in the red box, the future, it's going to be under our skin. That's the agenda. 7 years, it must be accelerated. Friends, hear me now. We are on the cusp of getting rid of cash altogether. Listen to this clip and weep.
But now we're at the cusp of physical currency essentially disappearing.
What? And what does the Bible say in Ezekiel chapter 7 and verse 19? Isaiah chapter 2 and verse 20. A time is going to come, they will throw monies, gold, and silver in the street. Listen again. That's one application of those two scriptures. There are more applications.
But now we're at the cusp of physical currency essentially disappearing. Now, the question is whether this actually leads to all the benefits that one might think of. Certainly, digital money in whatever form is more convenient for businesses, for consumers, for governments, because it pulls economic activity out of the shadows, reduces the use of central bank issued money for illicit purposes.
So pull things out the shadow, right? We want to track, we want to trace. Listen attentively now, friends. Some people say, what's the big deal? What is the big deal? Share with them this next clip. Do you know, when they remove cash altogether, a cashless only society, do you know CBDCs can expire? Think about that. You're always connected to the system. Clip 2.
Policy. And the one final note I will make is that if you think about the benefits of digital money, there are huge potential gains. It's not just about digital forms of physical currency. You can have programmability, units of central bank currency with expiry dates. You could have, as I argue in my book, a potentially better and some people might see it, or a darker world where the government decides that units of central bank money can be used to purchase some things, but not other things that it deems less desirable.
So what's the big deal? That's a big deal. Based on the fulfillment of end-time prophecy, Revelation 13, verse 15 through verse 17, you won't be able to buy or sell except it's by the dictation of the government, and behind the government, in the shadows, lurking in the shadows, it's going to be the papal power. Clip 3. It's coming.
So there are wonderful notions of things that can be done with digital money. But again, I fear that technology could take us to a better place, but equally has the potential to take us to a pretty dark place.
Dark? It is not a utopia that is on the horizon. It is a dystopia. We are going to become slaves to the system unless we implement the 5 keys of survival. Here are people from the world saying this. Clip 4.
Buy Bitcoin for an investment purposes. It's about being a sovereign individual, because money is the energy which fuels your life. So if you don't have control of your money, you don't have control over anything, and you, in my opinion, really just become a slave. Because
mercy. Become what? A slave? Do you see how it's all connected? The end goal of Lucifer, who became Satan, is to make mankind slaves and prisoners. Listen to this. Make us government dependent. Klaus Schwab.
Dans ce nouveau monde, on doit accepter...
You know what? Off my screen. I have no time for him right now. And as a result, by extension, I won't play Snowden. Off my screen. No time for that. Listen to this. What do they want? To make people government dependent, removing liberty and independence.
No, and I see the path as clear as day towards the digital dollar. Help me understand this. When you say even the Fed wants to destroy the dollar, though, why do you need to destroy the dollar to get to the cashless system?
Good question.
Well, because as long as the dollar exists, people will have large amounts of it.
Freedom.
Well, not only the bankers, but a lot of people outside of the banking community have inheritances. They have corporations, they have businesses that they're running, and they can be independent. And so that independence has got to be removed.
Yes.
And that's
I
the same
gotcha.
reason the family has to be removed.
That's it.
Yep.
Because they want people totally dependent on the state for every minute aspect of their lives.
Also, do you mean even like welfare payments, consumption coupons, food stamps? Listen to this.
For example, welfare payment.
Yes.
For example, consumption coupon. For example, food stamp. By programming CBDC, those money can be precisely targeted for what kind of people can own and what kind of use this money can be utilized. For example, for food. So this
For food?
potential programmability can help.
Hold on, for food. Now, friends, connect this to the movement to combat climate change. Imagine when they say you have expended all of your carbon allowance. Now your CBDC won't work. You can't travel. It's slavery. Look at this, my friends. And that's why we're told in the Desire of Ages, page 121, in the last great conflict of the controversy with Satan, those who are loyal to God will see every earthly support cut off. Does that also include money? Yes. So what is the work of preparation? Will Christ provide? Yes. But we have to be co-laborers with Christ. So what are we to do, friends? What are we to do? What are we to do? 3 times that question was raised. Friends, the world is actually telling and thinking of the work of preparation. What about God's people? The 5 keys of survival: conversion, country living, having food, water, even resources on your property. Number 4, being independent of the government, evangelism also. And number 5, helping those who are less fortunate, the bartering system. Friends, there are few people in the world who are saying this. Watch this. If you fail to plan, you're what? Planning to fail. Look at this now. Look at this, friends. There it is. It says, wartime victory gardens. Are we heading to a time of war or a time of peace? Revelation 12:17, a time of war. From top, a backyard garden, not in the city now, but in the country. A backyard garden can quite literally feed a whole family. People don't have to be dependent on international agribusinesses, and it goes on, or even be dependent on high-priced organics to feed ourselves and our families. Listen, each of us has the power to create our food from scratch. Quote, if people let government decide which food they can eat and medicines they take, their bodies will soon be in as sorry a state as are the souls of those who live under tyranny, end quote. That was a quote from Thomas Jefferson. It's all connected. And what are CBDCs? And the global digital ID, they can dictate what food, what medicine, the pandemic, what prick you must take to participate in society. The 5 keys of survival. Another news press saying actually the same thing. The only way out of this international and intentional chaos is to become self-sufficient. That's it. Create alternative, parallel food systems locally outside of the globalists' control. That's it, friends. Secure, portable water source. Yes. Buy shelf-stable and non-perishable foods in bulk. Buy energy backups. Get cooking backups, start a what? Start a garden and learn some basic skills. Where are the SDA people? We should have been on the forefront, speaking of the crisis based on end-time prophecy, exposing the man of sin, exalting Jesus Christ, and practically showing people how to become converted and practically how to become self-sufficient, the 5 keys of survival. I wish I could shout. Listen again. Do you remember this clip?
ID, but Alex, to touch on what you just mentioned.
That's the 50 in 5 years. Satan system, Antichrist system.
ID, but Alex, to touch on what you just mentioned, how are more people not seeing and understanding what's happening here? And how can anyone not see the parallels also to what's mentioned in Revelation chapter 13?
Yeah, Revelation chapter 13 is something everybody needs to go reread right now. Right, when this was written 2,000 years ago, the idea that some global system would be able to stop every person on the planet from buying or selling if they wouldn't take some mark, if they wouldn't participate in some system, must have sounded absolutely crazy, Allison. I mean, there was no global government at the time. There were people scattered all across the face of the earth, people living in the jungles that nobody had ever seen before. The idea of a global system stopping everybody would have just been simply inconceivable. And yet today we're actually watching the architecture of this abomination being rolled out before our eyes.
And friends, now he's going to actually make statements which are akin to the 5 keys of survival. Listen to these words.
And we'll wake up. Alex, quickly before we're out of time, what can or should we be doing during this time, and what should our so-called leaders be doing to counteract this?
Well, there's a lot that can and should be done. At the individual level, you want to use cash as much as possible. Stop using their digital payments and all the rest of it. At the local, the community level, you want to start creating networks. Get farmers and plumbers and people who provide different services together. Find ways to collaborate together outside of the system as much as possible. At the state level, work on...
Farmer, if you're a farmer, you're in the country. By implication, you have your property. If you are... networking, what is that? You're talking about assisting others. The 5th key. Do you see it? If you're a farmer, that means you have food, water, and resources. The 3rd key. You're independent. The 4th key. You're self-sufficient. If you can trade, that's the bartering system. 1 key omitted. And that is the 1st key. Conversion. However, both mention Revelation 13, the 5 keys of survival. I wish I could shout. It's right there. It's time for the bartering system. Before there was hard currency, the most common form of trade was bartering, using goods in exchange for other goods. The bartering system. Brothers and sisters, I want to share with you something here. The Bible tells us in the last days, words similar to a bartering system. In Mark chapter 6, verse 8, Jesus says, when I sent you out without purse, without script, lacked you anything? Without shoes, lacked you anything? What do you put in a purse? Money. A time is going to come, no money. Make sure you have resources. Just as when money failed in Egypt, the people were bartering. What were they selling? They were exchanging cattle, lands for food and water and sustenance. When that expired, then they exchanged their bodies for food and resources. And Matthew chapter 16, I believe, Matthew 16 and verse 26, Jesus says, what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? What is this last day exchange? Look at the 3rd temptation of Satan to Christ. In Matthew chapter 4, it's a part of a counterfeit bartering system. Satan said to Christ, Look at the kingdoms, the glory of them. All these will I give unto you if you fall down and worship me. Bartering system. That's Revelation 13, 15 through 17. How many are going to make that exchange and be lost and receive the mark of the beast? We always quote 1 Timothy. Listen to me attentively. 1 Timothy 6 verse 10. For the love of money is the root of all evil. Since the love of money is the root, then what's the fruit? The love of money, love of it, is the root of all evil. So what's the fruit of all evil? It's false worship. It's the mark of the beast. I close. I can't go any longer. I close. Even in the plan of salvation, we see principles of the bartering system. 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 18, verse 19, Jesus says, we were not redeemed with silver and gold, but by the precious blood of Jesus. Christ gave his body to redeem us. Friends, may we all surrender all to Christ right now and be prepared spiritually and practically in these last days. May we enlighten others before it is too late. Like and share the video before it is too late. And by the way, this evening, stay tuned at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time for our podcast, Make It Plain. The Lord is soon to come. The protest continues.